Welcome back to the show. Of course, you're still watching East Central. Now, we brought the news. Now, let's delve into our hot topic conversation. Now, it's no doubt it's been a great year for entertainment, for music and its global reach, and then there's film. We've seen more short films with power, that take international stage and have gotten global recognition, and we're loving the use of film as a tool for societal change. Now, joining me as the perfect person for this, to shed more light to the conversation, is a film producer whose film, The Delectable Aziza Salma, was selected at the Toronto International Nollywood Film Festival last year, and we were parts of that together. Desmond, good to have you on the show. How are you feeling?
Congratulations. I said I was going to say it. Congratulations. Thank you so much for having me on the show.
Absolutely. Like we talked about this. We were literally in your last film,
The partnership with News Central was so important to the success of that film because we wanted to partner with an organization, a media organization that truly stood for the theme of the topic we're trying to speak on, which is domestic violence. And then they tried to be a part of that. And you're gracious enough to also host it and be a part of it. So yeah, the team here at News Central would always be a part of the success of The Delectable Aziza Salma and my film.
I like that you said that. Of course, we feel a huge part of your growth as well. But I have to mention this. I know you a part of radio initially. Now you've transitioned, to being a film producer, into film.
Yeah.
And especially films that, like you talked about, have so much value, so much to talk about in our society. Why did you decide to do this?
So I had done radio since I was 16. Right from my first year in university, but it got to when I was on my 10th year, it just felt like it was time to let it go, and then I did, and then I decided to move to a newer format. I was still doing film, TV productions and all of that, and also producing awards like the Future Awards Africa. But then I decided to make films and tell stories that excited me and also showed the power of we as Africans and our different stories. And then we decided to make a first film. The first year was really hard because we made a first film that had a magical realism spin to it. But then a year after, we made a number of films. Like that, a mentor of mine said, it's always good to let out all your bad films early. So I think 2021 was that year. I was just partnering with everybody and just made a lot of films that never came out. And then we decided to make something ambitious, spent a lot of money and a lot of partnerships for The Delectable Aziza Salma that spoke about domestic violence and the need for people to speak up. And we just kept on going from there. We got nominated for an Emmy early this year. And
congratulations.
For Grown, it's a feature film called Grown. And then we did, courtesy of the Multi-Choice Talent Factory, did a film called Sealed that screened on Z World.
Another societal issue.
Yeah, it spoke about female genital mutilation and HIV. It was really, really powerful. I did a partnership as well for another film called Fragments of Tomorrow about sickle cell, which is a theme I'm very passionate about because I have friends who suffer from this disease, and also I really just want to speak. It's a theme I really want to speak about with film.
So I'm hearing from, of course, gender-based violence to sickle cell, and I can imagine being, not just because we're Nigerians, but there are even a lot more societal issues that I'm sure that you would want to address in films going forward, whether it's based on your passion or, like you said, your relationship with people around you, are there even any more that you're willing to explore, looking at exploring?
Myself and Fisayo Jabadu, who's my partner, we created a co-company called 22 and Alfred TV, which is a spin from 206 Productions and Alfred and Pat Studios. We are in the early phases of our pre-production for our next year offering. We are making a film called Of Apples and Trees, and it's a story that speaks about the relationships between fathers and sons, which a lot of people do not speak about.
I would cry.
It's such a powerful theme because a lot of, there's the theme of mental health, there's a theme of pressures that comes with the expectations between the fathers and the sons, there's a theme of disappointment. We also threw in the theme of this inheritance in Igbo society in there. It's getting better, but then we also thought it was an important theme to throw in there. So yeah, it's a...
Wow.
We are all for social change.
I like that. Yeah. And we're getting the first-hand tea here because this is ahead of next year.
Yeah.
I don't want to maybe talk more about this one because I feel like that might get me emotional. Because I feel like for every guy you either, look up to your father, or you don't want to be like him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But let's talk about this. Some people say when you create a film that is, like social conscious, that people can learn from, that tackles issues, that you don't make a lot of money from it, that it never becomes as successful as, the comedy films, What do you think about that?
It depends on the metrics you measure success from and the ambition of every filmmaker. So for me, over the years, I used to have a full-time job. So I was doing film side by side, but now it's all hands on deck.
Wow.
So it has to make sense, business side. So over the years, we've tried to build skill, build capacity with the types of partnerships we've done and tried to make quality films. They've traveled and won a couple of awards and also gotten us that name-ish. And then now it's time for us to throw in our monies and also the monies of people who believe in our abilities and capacity to make our next slate of films. And we understand how Nollywood is growing and evolving, and we think that with the films that we are creating, we plan to make monies and also make monies for the people who are gracious enough to believe in our ideas and partner with them. So yeah, it will definitely make money.
I like that because money is important. That's a huge part of being able to create more and more. And we want to see you do more. But let's talk about some of the challenges that you have faced. Now, with such a I don't want to say heavy conversation, something that some people don't want to talk about, some people want to shy away from these conversations, like gender-based violence, for instance. Have you ever experienced some challenges, especially when it comes to negative feedback or criticism from the work that you're putting, because it's sensitive, but at the same time, you want to convey a proper message. Have you ever had any experiences?
So some of the challenges we face is usually comes from us. Because in my head, I always want every film to feel perfect. And then there's always this voice in your head that says, the film has to have like a comedic feel. It has to, you have to think about the bigger audience. But then for us, we've been, I think I've been lucky. So the films that have made, people have loved, even though they are very, very heavy-ish. But then people have been able to connect with the story, and then you hear people share their own personal stories with you because they connect with the story. And that's what I really enjoy about making films. I really want people to see themselves in the films that we make and also find some form of impact and from the story. That's what we want to do.
Now, I'm thinking to myself, maybe, because we're all different people, sometimes we want to watch, films that would inspire us, that would charge us. Sometimes we want to watch films that make us laugh or action films, But when you look at examples, maybe here in Nigeria, across the globe, are there films that you've seen that you say, did the work, charged you, but at the same time there was the consciousness it put in the minds of people? Does anyone come to mind?
Yeah, so a lot of the films here always have a message. So yes, it might be the approach might be very comedic, but then at the end of the day, there's always a theme.
Like a moral lesson.
Yeah, moral lesson. Funke's, I haven't seen Everybody Loves Jennifer this year, but Funke's A Tribe Called Judah, even with how comedic it was, there's the connection with family and how important family is in the end in that story. Every other film like that, Breath of Life had that whole story about living beyond you and all of that. So there's always a message to every story. There's always, when you think of a story, there's act 1, act 2, act 3. There's always that, which we call the resolution. So it has to make sense. And when there's no resolution, when there's no give back, that's when you know that the film is bad. I was going to use the S word, but then, yeah.
Thank you for not doing that. But I want to talk about this a little bit because I feel like I tell people, tell your story, or want us as Africans to tell our stories. And sometimes some people have said that when we put it out there, the Western world might get a wrong perspective of us, So how are we careful with telling stories that say, okay, this is where we've come from, this is what we're experiencing, but not in a way that kind of like puts us down or makes us, I don't know. You get what I mean? Like feel less than. Is there a technique to how you do it?
I do not think that there's a technique to it. Because I think that we as Africans, we live a very sophisticated life. You're wearing diamond earrings now. So I think that it's because we're trying to portray Africans as less to the rest of the world. There are people who have Birkin bags here. There are people who live really robust and huge lives here. And they deserve for their stories to be told. But sometimes we always go back to the stories, which they're also important, but then we also go back to the stories that paints us as suffering or less. And I do not think that that's a true reflection of what we are. We are a country that in spite of our hardship, would find a way. If something we are faced with an adversity, the next thing is, what's the next step? What do we do? If I do not raise the money for my next film, I'm like, who do I need to partner with? How do I go? I must do it. I must do it. Do I need to borrow? Do I need to partner with this person? Do I need to work for a year? Nigerians are always that way. So I think it reflects in the types of films we tell. And then I also think that now, when trying to engage the world, we also should be conscious about telling the truth about who we are, because we are, even when Nigerians are crying, we'll also have like a full table of jollof rice. There would always be like that full table of jollof rice, which shows that we always find a way to celebrate, even in death. So, yeah.
I like that. I mean, I wish we had more time to spend, you know, because there are several issues that we face as a country, or in fact, the world faces. And, you know, seeing that in film, during your time, you know, with family, you know, it just does something to you, you know. But I want to say well done for the work that you've done.
Thank you.
So, I mean, think about it, the amount of issues that you've addressed in such short time, you know, doing this. I'm only looking forward to seeing the great things that you do. And this film, you know, I mean, I'm sure New Central would like to be a part of it. I would love to be a part of it.
Yeah.
So we're looking forward
Hopefully next year you'll be watching it with your wife.
Okay. I see what you did there. Thank you again
you
for
so
your
much.
time,
Thank
Desmond.
you.